What happens when a business deal goes south? Usually you lose some money, right? Maybe your reputation takes a hit. But what if the penalty for a bad loan wasn't cash, but a pound of your own flesh, carved from right next to your heart? That is the absolutely terrifying bargain at the center of Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice.
Now, to really get what's going on in this story, you have to understand that it takes place in two completely different worlds. On one hand, you've got Venice. Think of it like the Wall Street of its day. It's all about business, contracts, and conflict, a place where the law is the law, no exceptions. And on the other hand, you have Belmont. This is a place of romance, of wealth, and freedom, where the strict rules of Venice feel a million miles away, and mercy is seen as the greatest virtue of all. And it's this huge clash between law and mercy, between business and love, that gets this whole story moving.
So, how do these two polar opposite worlds end up colliding? Well, like a lot of stories, it all starts with someone needing money. But believe me, this isn't your average loan. This is a bond that's going to put a man's life, quite literally, on the line.
All right, let's meet our key players. First up is Antonio. He's the merchant from the title. He's a pretty well-respected guy in Venice, but he's always got this kind of cloud of sadness hanging over him that no one can quite figure out. He's incredibly loyal to his friends, but, and this is a huge but, he's also got this deeply prejudiced side, especially when it comes to one person in particular.
And here is the guy who really kicks this whole mess off, Bassanio. He's Antonio's best friend, he's charming, he's a nobleman, but he is terrible with money. So Bassanio really wants to go and woo this super wealthy heiress, but to even look the part, he needs a serious amount of cash. And who does he turn to? The one friend he knows will do anything for him, Antonio.
So, here's the problem. All of Antonio's money is tied up in his merchant ships, which are out at sea. So to help his friend, he has to go ask for a loan from the one person in Venice he truly despises, Shylock. Shylock is a Jewish moneylender, he's a total outsider in this society, and he has been treated horribly for years by Antonio and the whole Christian community. We're talking publicly spat on, insulted, you name it.
Shylock agrees to the loan, but he says he doesn't want any interest. Instead, he offers this really twisted deal that he calls a merry bond. If Antonio can't pay back the loan on time, the penalty is a pound of Antonio's own flesh. And Antonio, he's so confident his ships will come in, he just agrees. And with that signature, the trap is officially set.
Now you might be thinking this is all just a high-stakes business deal, but oh no, we're about to throw a whole lot of gasoline on this fire. A love story and a shocking betrayal are about to turn this financial agreement into a very, very personal quest for revenge.
And this is Portia, the wealthy heiress Bassanio is so desperate to marry. She lives in that fairy tale world of Belmont. But there's a catch. Her father's will says she can't just marry who she wants. Any suitor has to pass a test and choose correctly from 3 chests, 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 lead. Bassanio needs Antonio's money just to get to Belmont and try his luck.
Just as all this is going down, Shylock gets hit with something that absolutely shatters his world. His own daughter, Jessica, runs away to marry a Christian, and when she leaves, she takes a huge amount of her father's money and jewels with her. For Shylock, this is the ultimate betrayal. He's lost his daughter and his fortune, all in one go.
And then, the worst possible news arrives. Antonio's ships, they're lost at sea. He can't repay the loan. And suddenly, Shylock's demand for a pound of flesh isn't some dark joke anymore, it is chillingly real. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why would anyone insist on a penalty this monstrous?
And this is where things get really, really complicated, because for Shylock, this was never just about the money. His demand comes from years and years of pure rage. Antonio has insulted him in public, spat on him, tried to ruin his business, and now, on top of all that, his daughter has run off with the help of Antonio's friends. This is the absolute final straw. The bond isn't a contract anymore. It's his one chance to get revenge on a world that has done nothing but wrong him.
So this all leads us to the climax of the play, a massive courtroom showdown in Venice. Antonio's life is literally hanging by a thread, and Shylock is there, sharpening his knife, ready to collect what he's owed.
The whole trial really comes down to this one major conflict. On one side, you have Shylock, and he is demanding strict, literal justice. He's holding up the contract, saying a deal's a deal, the law's the law. On the other side, you have a plea for something beyond the law, mercy, an argument that compassion should be more powerful than any legal document on earth.
So, just when it looks like all hope is lost for Antonio, this young, brilliant lawyer shows up to argue his case. But here's the massive twist. It's actually Portia, in disguise as a man. In a time when women had absolutely no place in a courtroom, she's using her wits to secretly jump in and save her new husband's best friend.
And her legal strategy is just genius. She doesn't fight the law. She uses Shylock's own obsession with it against him. First, she looks him in the eye and says, "You know what? You're right. The bond is legal. You are entitled to your pound of flesh. You can feel the air go out of the room." But then she drops the bombshell. The bond gives you permission to take flesh, but it says nothing about blood. So go ahead, Shylock. Take exactly 1 pound of flesh, but if you spill a single drop of Christian blood, you'll be arrested for attempting to murder a Venetian citizen. And just like that, the tables have turned.
So, Antonio is saved, the Christians win, everyone celebrates. But the story isn't over. And what happens next raises some really uncomfortable questions about the kind of mercy that was just on display.
So let's actually look at what this so-called mercy really is. Shylock, who wanted nothing but by-the-book justice, is now at the complete mercy of the court. And what do? They force him to give up all his money and, even worse, to convert to Christianity. Portia, the one who gave this beautiful speech about mercy, is the one who lays down these incredibly harsh terms. And Antonio? Yeah, he's saved, but not by compassion. He's saved by a clever legal loophole.
So, in the end, all the Christian characters get to go back to their perfect, romantic world in Belmont. They're rich, they're in love, everything's great. Shylock, on the other hand, is left utterly broken. His family, his faith, his entire identity destroyed. And that's the gut punch that the play leaves you with. The good guys won by turning the law into a weapon, and then they offered a so-called mercy that completely destroyed a man. So you have to ask, was this an act of justice? Or was it just another form of revenge dressed up to look righteous? It makes you wonder, who in this story was the real merchant of Venice?